Welcome to the Learning League podcast, where the most influential minds in learning assemble. This is the podcast that challenges the way we think about leadership and professional development. We're hitting Control, Alt, Learn to reset the outdated ideas, spark innovation, and explore new ways to empower business leaders, people managers, and learning professionals. Each episode, we bring you an insightful conversation with a trailblazer who is shaping the future of workplace learning and leadership. Whether you're here for fresh strategies or game-changing inspiration, you're in the right place. Today, we welcome the amazing Madelyn Mackie, a certified career management coach who helps professionals land top jobs with standout resumes and career strategies. She has guided clients into roles at Kaiser Permanente, Wells Fargo, and Mozilla, and has trained executives at Chevron and Twitter. A featured expert in Modernize Your Resume and cited in Glassdoor and Ivy Exec, Madelyn draws on diverse career experience to activate success. Welcome, Madelyn.
Thank you, Cheryl. I am so excited to be here today to talk about activating employees' career dreams, professionals' career dreams, business owners' career dreams. We are going to activate.
I love it. And I love your energy. And we're going to jump right in because I'm actually excited for people to learn a little more about you and your background and your journey that they didn't know before. So most people do not know that your journey spans from biochemistry to the arts, the C-suite, and now career coaching. Can you walk us through these incredible transitions in more detail?
It's my favorite story to tell. So it did take me 40 plus years to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. I am a published biochemistry researcher. I wrote a paper on the intercalation of an H2 top porphyrin with a 1A2A prime DNA molecule. I'm sure everybody listening, you've all read that, right? And after I wrote that first paper, my mentors and advisors were like, wow, you're amazing. This is great. What are you going to do next? And I looked at them and said, not this. I'm not doing this anymore. Don't like it. Don't want to do it. Don't ask. No, thank you. My true love and passion was the stage. But all the naysayers kept saying, you'll never make a living in theater. You're going to be waiting tables and sleeping on your parents' couch for the rest of your life.
Right.
And I was a stubborn and naive 20-year-old, and I went and did it anyway. And I went and had jobs at 4 Tony Award-winning theaters as a stage manager and a production manager.
Amazing.
Thank you. Now, after 15 years in theater, I got a little burnt out. I got a little jaded. That age-old question of, now, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wanted more money. I wanted work-life balance. I wanted to help others and give back to my community. And as I cataloged all these things I wanted from the dream job, I realized I actually was doing that job. I just wasn't getting paid for it. I was a volunteer for the American Red Cross. At 2 a.m, my phone would ring. It'd be the fire department saying, hey, will you come out and provide assistance to those in our community impacted by disasters and home fires? And I would go out volunteering in my red jacket and say, hi, I'm from the Red Cross, and I'm here to provide you food, shelter, clothing, and mental health support. I loved the work. I did that for 5 years and did not get paid. And I was like, I wonder if they will hire me.
Unbelievable.
Right? And it took some convincing, but eventually they hired me as a program manager. And within 18 months, I was promoted to an officer position. So that's how I went from the lab to the stage to the C-suite. And then what happened is people were always asking me, how did you do that? Because that's some serious transitions.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's easy. And they're like, what do you mean? See, I know my superpower.
Yeah.
I am a linear thinker. I'm very process driven.
Okay.
So I always came up with a process and a system. And when I worked in professional theater,
Mm-hmm.
you're laid off every 8 weeks. Every 8 weeks, every 2 months, you have to find a job. So I had a system because I was like, if I have to keep doing this all the time, I'm going to create some checklists and some milestones and some scripts and some templates and to-do lists. So I don't have to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do it. And my theater friends were always like, how do you always find work so fast? And I'd be like, oh, let me show you my system.
Right.
And I would share this system with others. They would find their next job. And one day while I was working at the Red Cross, my phone rang
Mm-hmm.
and I was asked, hi, I understand you're a career coach. Can you help me find my next job? And I was like, I'm a what? They're like,
you never even heard of that, right?
I've never heard of it. And they said, how much do you charge? And I said, that's a very good question. Let's do a career assessment and I can send you a proposal. And that's how Madelyn Mackie, the career activator, was born. And it took a couple of years later that I decided to leave the Red Cross and make that business a full-time endeavor. And that was almost 13 years ago. Right. So we've been activating career dreams. We are a career management consulting agency that works with both corporations to help them keep their top talent and individuals to help them find their next opportunity.
Wow. So let's break that down a little. That's your journey. So let's go back and let's try to break it down a little more. So you talked about theater. Let's talk about lessons from the stage that you pass on to clients navigating their career transitions today.
So yes, the thing about theater professionals is we believe anything can happen because we're in the business of making the impossible a reality on the stage, right? You need it to rain and thunder and lightning on stage, we can make that happen. You need to go back to 1840 on stage, we can do that. You need to go to outer space, we can do that. We think differently about the world because we know every problem is solvable. We just have to figure it out. Mm-hmm. Also, in that industry, getting laid off is no big deal. Yeah. We're laid off every 8 weeks. So there's no emotion behind it. When that happens to you, I had a 10-year, 15-year career in theater. That happened to me 20, 30 times. So the emotion is out of it. And that's something I try to teach my clients is let's take the emotion out of it, right? Because people are always like, they're not hiring me because I'm too old, I'm too young, my skin color, my hair color, I'm curly haired, I'm straight haired, I don't have a degree, I have a degree, I have too many degrees, right? There's always an excuse. Get all that out of it. You have to find a job. So let's come up with a system that you routinely are doing consistent activities on a regular basis to find your next role, because you have to find a role. And in theater, as I mentioned, we're always rebranding ourselves. I needed to find a job. So sometimes I was hired as a stage manager. Sometimes I was hired as a production manager. Sometimes I did wardrobe and costumes. Sometimes I ran the light board because I needed a job.
Right.
But it was still in the same space, and it was still playing to my superpowers.
Yeah.
So I always tell my clients, stop searching by job title.
Yeah.
Search by your skill set. Search by your superpower. Because you
Yes.
might just find a position that you didn't even expect because they call it something funny in corporate America, right? They're making up titles about jobs. But focus on your skills and then put yourself out there.
That's excellent advice. Since moving into career coaching, I'm amazed by the high-profile clients that you've worked with. The Oakland Raiders, Twitter. I mean, this is quite a wide variety of professionals. How do you adapt your methods to meet their needs for each one?
It all starts with our 3-step process of create a vision, cultivate the resources, and then activate a plan. So
everybody, make sure you're taking notes, because this is really good stuff.
Exactly. So whether you're an NFL player, whether you're an engineer at a high-tech company, whether you're a program manager at a nonprofit, you need to know where you're going next. And so I don't start any career coaching. I don't start any documents until I ask them, where are you coming from and where do you want to go next? And if they say to me, I have no idea what kind of job I want, but I want a job, we have to stop there, because I can't write a resume for any job. There's not one resume that rules them all. We have to have a direction and we have to have a focus. So what I have clients do is I say, go out onto the job boards, go look for a job based on skills, like I mentioned earlier, and find some jobs that interest you. And then I want you to do a little exercise where you take a highlighter, yellow and green. You highlight the skills you know how to do in green. All the skills you know how to do, you highlight in green. All the skills you need to learn or you're not familiar with, you highlight it in yellow. That's a skills assessment and a gap analysis. With the highlighted things in green, I now know what to put on your resume. Now we have a target. Now we know what skills to highlight, what strengths, what accomplishments to talk about. So we really have to have a direction. So we have to create a vision. Then we cultivate the resources, which is your resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, your job search strategy, your networking strategy, right? Now we can put together a plan and the resources. What do you need? Do you need a mentor? Do you need a career coach? Do you need interview help, right? We cultivate the resources you need to get you to where you're going. Then what we have to do is activate. So I am the career activator, and I really focus on my clients on what are the next 3 steps you have to take. Because people will come to me and say, how do I negotiate a salary? And I go, do you have a job offer? And they're like, no, I don't have a job offer yet. I don't even have interviews. Then why are we talking about salary negotiations right now? Let's back it up. So let's do the next 3 things. I want you to network with 3 people. Find 3 opportunities to apply to. Practice 3 star stories for your interviews. 3 things. That's all I want you to do. And we're going to keep moving the dial every 3 steps. So it truly, that process works for everyone that I've worked with, the professional athletes, the IT executives, the nonprofit managers. We have to create, cultivate, and activate. Create a vision of where you want to go, cultivate the resources you need, and activate a step-by-step plan until you find your next career opportunity.
Amazing. I love it. I think it's a great process, and obviously it's working, and people are excited about getting into that process with you, and we're going to give them some information on that a little later. Let's get serious for just a moment. Imposter syndrome. Where someone feels like they're a fraud or unqualified despite their skills and success. It often holds people back. Have you experienced this in your own career, and how do you help others to overcome it?
Of course, I've experienced imposter syndrome all the time, because even though I tell the story of how I went from the lab to the stage to the C-suite to the owner's box, in 45 seconds or less, that was not the process. It was not a quick and easy transition. So, and I was always worried, right? When I was walking away from chemistry and I had very little theater experience. Sure, I worked on some of the plays in high school and 1 or 2 shows in college, but like now I'm talking about making a living doing this, getting paid to do this. And I barely have enough shows on my resume to fill up a whole page. What do I do? Well, for me, it's all about education. And 2 types of education, the academic training, right? So I had to learn how to be a stage manager, how to learn to be a production manager, how to learn how to negotiate contracts. So I read about it, right? I couldn't go back to school for it. I couldn't afford to go back to school. A lot of people think education is like, I got to go get another degree. No, you don't. You have to educate yourself. So I bought a lot of books and I read a lot of books. And then, so that's the one way, the technical, but I also did a lot of informational interviews where I talked to people in the industry and I asked them, how did you do it? How did you acquire the knowledge? And they fed into me. So every one of my transitions, even though I was scared out of my mind on how I was going to do this and how I was going to make this work, I studied. So as a career coach, when I decided at the Red Cross, when I decided it's time for me to go, I had a 3-year exit plan. It didn't happen overnight.
Amazing.
And that exit plan was focused on, okay, I need to get my career coach certification. So I need to go through a certification program. I need to get a resume writing certification so I know how to write resumes. I need to talk to others in the industry about how they've been successful. I had to go through entrepreneur programs on how do I set up a business? Like, what is the business structure? How do you market the business? How do you generate sales? How do you track your finances for the business? So I spent those 3 years immersed in learning how to be successful and create, cultivate, activate. I created a vision. I wrote my bio. I said, I'm going to write a bio for how I want my bio to be a year from now, of what training and what experience, all those accomplishments you wrote, that was in my original bio before I had done any of those things. And I cultivated the resources, my certifications, my training, my network, my brand. And then I activated, right? I was like, okay, I can't do all this. I'm still working full time. So let's take the first certification and work on that. Then we've got to build a website. Well, let's build the about page because I know who I am. We can do that. And we did it step by step by step. So
baby steps.
Baby steps. That's how you beat imposter syndrome. You educate yourself and then you take it step by step.
Yeah, I know a lot. I know I spoke to another, I interviewed someone else and they were saying that they felt like even though they were qualified, they felt like they didn't deserve it. And I think that's like a whole nother discussion, but that's also something that people struggle with as well. I know that there were times when you thought that you weren't going to get something, but you asked anyway.
I always ask. Always ask.
Yeah.
My very first corporate contract as a small business, someone sent it to me and it wanted all of these requirements and samples of work. And I didn't have it. I had been in business officially now for maybe 3 to 6 months.
Sure.
Maybe. But it was an RFP. It was an RFP for a government contract. I read it. I highlighted the things I knew how to do in green. I highlighted the things I was like, I don't know what this means in yellow. The things I highlighted in yellow, I did a nice Google search and found out what they were and said, oh, I can do that. Oh, okay. I understand what that is. I drafted my answers to the RFP. They wanted samples of the work. I reached out to my community and say, who wants a free resume? I need to create some resumes.
Yes.
And I did resumes for my friends and family and community to provide samples of my work. And then I put everything I could. I listed volunteer work as
now
my
that's a skill that people forget.
Yep, because I had been writing, right? I had been writing resumes as a volunteer at one of our local career centers. I didn't put that I was a volunteer there. I just said career, one-stop career center, resume writer. I had a reference. I called him. I said, will you be a reference for me? And he's like, absolutely.
Yes.
So I put together the best possible portfolio I could for this RFP. I clicked submit and I blessed and released it.
Yes.
Because I strongly believe that what is meant for me will come to me. And you know what? I landed that contract. They believed in me. So I was like, well, if they believe in me, let me do this. And we've had that contract for 10 years now.
I love it. I love it. Yes, that's what we have to do. We have to take a chance, know what you can do, and just go for it. If it's for you, it's for you. Yes, I love that. I love that. You know, you are a phenomenal trainer and you've been a lifelong learner in unconventional ways. Do you have any advice for professionals who want to grow and succeed without going back to school? I know you mentioned that earlier. You know, what tips can we give them?
Yeah, I love certification programs. So there's a pretty much a certification program for anything and everything these
Yeah.
days. So when I was trying to figure out how to be a career coach, I looked at LinkedIn profiles of other career coaches and I would go look at what training certifications did they have. And so certain ones kept popping up over and over again. So I went and go investigated those programs. And most of those programs were 6 months long. They were affordable. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. But let's say even that is too much. You're like, I can't afford something like that. What can you do?
Sure.
You read books, you listen to podcasts. How many of us have learned how to do things through YouTube University?
You're
Right?
right.
I'm an Excel guru through YouTube University. So you just have to figure it out. And here's the thing, like some people will say, well, in this job, they have to do budgeting and I've never done budgets before. And I'll say, do you pay your rent and mortgage every month? And they're like, well, yeah. Do you look at your checking account to make sure there's money to cover those funds? Yeah. Do you know what 1 + 1 is? They're like, Madelyn. I said, that's budgeting. Making sure you have enough money in the bank to cover the bills and you know how to add and subtract.
Yeah.
If you know how to do that, you can do a budget. You've got this. You may not have done it, in a formal business environment, but you know how to do this.
Right.
And trust me, in most organizations, you're going to be working with the finance team and the accounting team. You're not going to be out there by yourself doing it. So breathe. Everybody just breathe.
And doesn't LinkedIn have free classes? I know there's other websites out there that also offer free video training.
LinkedIn has,
well.
LinkedIn has LinkedIn Learning.
LinkedIn Learning. Okay.
Yes. It is not necessarily free. It usually is connected to the premium account, but sometimes you can get it through your local library for free.
Okay.
Your library has it, or certain corporations. If you're still working, check with your HR department or your employee relations department. Sometimes they'll provide it for free.
Okay.
If you've been laid off, I know through the outplacement services, they will provide it at no cost to you. And sometimes
that's like the Department of Labor.
Your outplacement is an agency. It's like what I do. When you're laid off from a company, as part of your severance, you get career transition services.
Okay.
And some of the larger agencies provide it at absolutely no cost.
I love it.
So there's a lot of ways to get a hold of it. But I love YouTube. Everybody is learning everything on YouTube. So I love, you can learn anything on YouTube University. So start there.
Yeah.
And technology, right? If you need to learn new technology skills, I know a lot of job seekers are saying my technology skills are not where they need to be. Every single software has a free trial. And in that, every single software has a help desk learning library. Every single software
with videos or tutorials. That's what you mean? Okay.
Salesforce, all of them have a learning library to teach you how to use that software. So there's no excuse at all for you not to learn new technology.
Okay, you heard it straight from here. Those are all your ideas that that you can do to get yourself educated, and you don't have to go back to school. It is obvious to me that resilience is your middle name, whether you know it or not. You've shared stories about going after what you wanted, even in the face of rejection, and succeeding beyond others on how to persist and succeed. Can you share one of those stories?
Absolutely. So it was during my tenure at the Red Cross, and I wanted a promotion. The director of our department was leaving, and I was a manager in that department, and I did not want a new boss. And so I said, I guess if I can't have a boss, I'm going to be my own boss. I'll be the boss of the department. And also my colleague, another manager in the department, I knew was also going for that role. And we talked about it, and we both said, hey, if I can't get it, I want you to get it. And anything I can do to support you, let me know. And at the end of the day, after the whole process, the CEO called me in and said, I want to let you know we're going to give the role to your colleague. And I was just devastated about it, because I was like, and it was the absolute best decision. He gave it to the right person. But he said to me, I'm glad to see you're interested in advancement. In a couple of months, the external relations officer is going to be retiring. Be ready. And sure enough, in about 8 months, she retired. I applied for the position. I came ready during the interviews with a 3-year plan to grow, expand, and develop the programs that she was working on and take them in a whole nother direction, and also launching some new programs. So when I went to the interview, I presented all of that to them, and I got that job.
Wow. Amazing.
So, thank you. Thank you. So it's really that old adage of, if at first you don't succeed, try, and try again.
Yeah. And if you hadn't shown the initiative to go after that first job, they wouldn't have really known your interests and goals and presented you for that other role.
Absolutely.
And that was an even higher level.
Yes.
Role.
It was an even higher level.
So, yeah. So don't hesitate to go after what you want. Let people know what you're capable of and what your goals are. Okay, because not all supervisors and managers are going to ask. I mean, I'm just being blatant today.
That's not where their focus is. Right. That is not where their focus is. Their focus is on their own departmental KPIs.
Yes.
And they want to know, you want training and everything like that. But he had no idea. He was like, I didn't realize. I thought you were so happy in your role.
Right.
I didn't know that you were looking for advancement. Okay.
Yes.
And he was smart, because the role that he picked out for me was such a better fit than the one I thought I wanted. I just wanted advancement, but he wanted me to have the right advancement.
Yeah. And has that shaped the way that you work with clients? Because now you're also giving them advice to make sure that they're applying for things that's the best fit for them?
Absolutely. One of my favorite success stories of a client was, she was coming out of graduate school, her master's degree. She applied for all of these business management programs, sales management programs, because I was like, why did you pick this? Because I thought it was just an odd fit for her, because she was so bubbly, had an amazing personality, was a great relationship manager. And she was like, yeah, I want to make as much money as possible, and I figure sales is the best way to do it. And I was like, okay. And she applied for like 5 of these programs, and she did not get a single one. Like, she went through multiple rounds of interviews. They all said, we love her, we love you. And she did not get a single one of those. And she was devastated. Then, so she had to find a job, right? She's graduating. She's got all these student loan debts. She's got to find a job. She finds a job. It's in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. She falls in love with it. She loves what she's doing. She goes from a nonprofit role to a corporate role. She went from there. I think she worked at Facebook. She worked at Google. I think she's at Airbnb now. Like, she's now a senior director of programs, outreach, and talent acquisition, or something like that. She's amazing. And every time we talk, I say, do you remember how you felt after all those, when you got rejected from those 5 different programs. She goes, I'm so glad they told me no, because it would not have sent me in the direction I've gone to today.
Yeah.
And again, what is for you is for
Yes.
you. But there are also things out there that are not for you, and you have to accept that.
Wow. So when one door closes, that's okay because there's a better door that's about to open, right?
Every time.
I just love all these philosophical things going on today. Madelyn's here dropping knowledge. I love it. Madelyn, you belong to several associations, but is there one that you're particularly passionate about?
Yes, my favorite organization is the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce. It is a great organization to help small businesses. They've helped me a lot grow in development. So that's one of my favorite organizations to work with regards to my business. But personally, another organization that I belong to that is really important to me is the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, the Oakland Bay Area chapter. I knew I wanted to be involved with my community. I wanted to help raise other Black women and girls up. And I get to do that through that organization. We focus on health and wellness, economic empowerment, public policy, and education. And it's important to me to give back to my community, especially right now. So being involved in organizations to help other Black-owned small businesses is really important to me. And also being able to help young Black women and girls succeed are where I put my time and energy these days.
Okay, so succeed. So it's directly connected to the mission of your company with careers. Is that what you're saying?
No, well, the 100 Black Women, again, focuses on health and wellness, public policy. So that means the initiatives that people are doing, voting initiatives and community services and things like that, all the other government initiatives. Then they also do economic empowerment and then education and training. So sometimes it's connected to the business, but sometimes it's just related to my personal values, right? I want Black women to be healthy. I want them to be financially stable. I want the laws of this land to be supportive of what we need them to be supportive to help our communities and our families. So it's not all necessarily connected to business. It's all about making this world a better place.
Bravo. Absolutely. 100% agree. Okay, so let's go back to your title that I think everyone is familiar with. You're all over LinkedIn, the Career Activator. You know, I love your ads, by the way. The new ones are just great. What does that mean to you as the Career Activator? Like, how do you activate someone's career in a transformative way?
It's all about those action steps. If someone comes to me and says, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, that's career exploration. And I'm going to send you to another coach because that's not what I do. You come to me and say, I'm in this role and now I want this role. How do we do it? And I go, let's write out the first 3 steps. Let's activate. It's all about moving the needle and having you, maybe it's advance in the next role. That's where we work with a lot of corporations to help them retain their top diverse talent and advance them to the next level. But what do we do? Where do we start? So many of us in our careers, our career was acted upon us rather than we taking action in our career, right? Somebody tapped you on the shoulder and said, hey, I have this position you should apply to over here. Come on over here to my team. Hey, here's an opportunity I think you're a great fit for, right? Other people fed us information to grow in our career. And eventually that's going to plateau. This is all about breaking through that plateau of this is where I am today. Here's where I want to be tomorrow. I help them figure out the steps, the vision. They know where they want to go. What resources do you need? We need to cultivate those resources. And then what are the first 3 steps you need to take to transform your career and get to the next level?
Yep. 3 steps. I got it. I got it.
It's all about 3. I never go more than 3 steps.
Yes.
That gets overwhelming.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, people can remember 3. That's true. Okay, so it seems like your whole life is about helping others. You've got your associations where you help Black girls, Black women. You've got your company. But how do you recharge so that you can take care of yourself?
Oh my goodness. Yes. How do I recharge? I am, first of all, I rely very much on my faith. I am a child of God. And so every Sunday I am in church connecting with my faith, with my God, with my community. So that's really important to me.
Yes.
I do not work at all on Sundays. So it doesn't matter what needs to be done. Sunday is a day of rest, and I take full advantage of that.
That's right.
Also, as we like to say, no is a complete sentence. I set very clear boundaries with everything in my life. I set boundaries with my clients. I set boundaries with family and friends. So it's all about making sure that there's space to do what I do best. And I'd say that's the third thing I do to take care of myself is I do what I work in my strengths. Yeah. And if there's something that I was like, I don't know how to do that. Like, I can use Excel, but I'm not the greatest Excel. And if I've got to create a spreadsheet to do something complicated, that is going to stress me out. And that is not healthy. So I will hire it out. I will outsource it. I will ask my community, does someone know how to do this? I will get help. Yeah. And so I think those are the big things. Having a faith-focused and centered life. Taking my rest when I need to rest, setting clear boundaries and saying, no, I'm not doing that. Yes. And when there's something that has to be done and I'm not the one to do it, I delegate.
I am just learning that.
Yes, indeed. That makes all the difference.
Yeah. First, I had to learn set boundaries, and then I had to learn delegate. So, and then recently I was doing another interview with another professional, and she talked about how it's not work-life balance, it's life-work balance.
Yes, ma'am.
Because your life comes first and the work comes second, right? Yep. If you're not taking care of yourself, then you're not going to have anything to give to the job. And, if something happened to you today, your position would be filled tomorrow. So that's some other knowledge I'm dropping. I stole it from her, but anyway, it's really important and I really love it. Life work. It's not work-life balance.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay. So people want to get in touch. Okay. They're ready to activate. They want to work with you. What can they expect when they collaborate with you?
Oh,
are you coming with the whip? Are you?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. So I recommend everyone please connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll find me, Madelyn Mackie. You'll know it's me because it says Madelyn Mackie Career Activator. You can go to my website. We always start with a career consultation with either me or an amazing member of my team, where we find out where you are today and where you want to go tomorrow. Then we'll figure out a plan to help you. But it all starts with, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's get to know each other.
Okay.
And then we can build from there.
I love it. Again, if you want to get in touch with Madelyn, her website is madelynmackie.com, MadelynMackie.com. And we'll have all of Madelyn's information and all her links in the description area below the video. So to all our viewers and listeners, we just want to say thank you. And I also want to say a special thank you to Madelyn Mackie. I thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
It has been my pleasure, Cheryl, and I look forward to seeing everybody create, cultivate, and activate your career dreams.
I love it. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Learning League podcast. Until next time, bye.